Hello, everyone. Hey, this is Kisa. We just kind of jumped right on in, didn't we, today? No welcome sign or anything. Nope, we're getting ready to talk about something that is really, really important to me. And it should be important to really all of us because it affects the direction of our country. So we want to welcome you in to Evolve today, and we're doing a special edition in which we are talking about. And listen, I know this is a big week, the Magic City Classic going on, and all of that great stuff. Not to negate any of that, but the presidential election is just around the corner from that. Okay, I dare say it is one of the most important races and elections that we will see in our lifetime. You don't have to agree with me on that because I know you probably have all types of documentation on why these other elections are important as well. But listen, it is the leadership of our country. We had a really good time talking to this gentleman a couple of weeks ago about the election and what you need to do to make sure you're ready. Listen, we're still sounding the alarm, and we invited him back to hang out with us today. Barnett Wright, editor of the Birmingham Times. Listen, welcome. And how are you today, sir?
Good. How are you?
Super fantastic. Super fantastic. And we always, you and I sort of talk offline about these sorts of things and everything. So we have an election that's right around the corner. People have all sorts of analogies that they like to use and to Barnett, honestly, to almost downplay. Well, people say the presidential election is important, but all of these other elections are just as important as well. We're not negating that, but from your experience reporting in journalism, isn't this kind of a big deal, this election?
Yeah, it is a big deal, especially with the stakes. Stakes, because I don't think we've ever had an election, at least in recent memory, where it has been 50-50 up until election day. There's no one clear favorite in this election, and we've never had that before.
You know, you're going to hear, okay, so I'm a journalist as part of my background. Probably most people know that. So you're going to hear a little bit of skepticism coming out. Statistics show what statistics show. So how much and this is skeptical Kisa, skeptical journalist. How much value can we put into those statistics being that the race is close?
Well, I think people can put value in them because there's no one poll that will show a clear front runner, right? All polls have them mm, uh, possibly, depending on where you look at 48-48 right now, and those are both Democrat and Republican polls. Now you have some Republican polls who will give Trump an edge. Rasmussen, for example, gives him an edge, but you expect that because their polls always, or for the most part, have always given the Republican an edge. But if you look across all the polls, not one of them on either side would give either candidate a a sizable lead. So that's why can put credence in these. However, if you look at all the polls combined, Harris has a very slight edge, but then that fluctuates, right? Then Trump will have a slight edge. So in this particular case, I will put credence in the ad in the polls that show that this is a tied race at this point.
So, and listen, I know at this point we're talking about some things that may not, how can I say it, don't amount to much at the end of the day, but it is worth mentioning. I don't know if I should be alarmed, or I don't know if I should be surprised that we have a gentleman who's a convicted felon who really stands the opportunity to be elected as president of our country again. We certainly are in a different day.
Yes, but 50% of the people don't believe that felony conviction is a disqualifier. I mean, that's democracy. 50% of the people are aware of what has happened in his past. Not just that, but other issues with the election, with some of his other legal issues that has been out there. People are aware of it, but
Sure.
they still say they support him.
Yeah, it's these are strange and sundry times, Barnett. Strange and sundry. When I think about the fact that we had a president who was impeached based on his how can I say it? How can I say it? Uh, s- let's just say misbehavior uh, related to an intern, and the country was in an uproar related to that. And now we have a gentleman who, again, the stories of and we don't have to go into all the details with that, but just the when you sort of measure, the integrity of it, it's like I don't know, it just looks like it's gone out of the window as far as we're concerned. And I know the debate is not up to you and I, because as you mentioned, if we are in a democracy, and if you do have to at least listen if people don't see it as an issue to disqualify him. I will say this, and I will ask this, and this may be putting you on the spot just a little bit, but no, you're Barnett. We can't put you on the spot. You're always ready. You're always prepared. The thing that concerns me greatly, or that I have another question about, is I'm a little bit surprised that gentlemen who look like you, African American men, are in a position where they are not throwing their support behind Kamala Harris. That's a little bit of a surprise for me. And I guess my question would be, why would an African American male, or how would he identify with former President Donald Trump?
Well, I've heard that, but that's not what I'm getting. That's not what I'm getting. In the circles that I travel in,
Hmm.
okay, the black men that I travel in um, are supporting Kamala Harris.
I'm glad
Now,
to hear that. I'm
so
glad
so
to hear
there,
that.
there have been numerous calls where there have been black males on those calls. And remember, my job is to hear both sides of the issue.
Yeah.
So, are there some black males who are not supporting Kamala? Yes, I have heard them. I've spoken to them. And I think that's their democratic right to choose. But I think it's overblown with these stories are coming out. Oh, all these black men aren't supporting. I don't believe that. I just don't. And this is just based. I haven't done any scientific polling. Okay, but I don't know who these posters are talking to, because when you go into black churches on Sundays, you don't hear that.
Yeah.
When you go into black barbershops on Mondays, you don't hear that. When you see black brothers out on Tuesdays, you don't hear that. So this kind of data, and when you raise the question about whether or not we should trust the polling that shows the race at 48, 49, I will say this: I don't trust the polling that says the majority of black men are not voting for Kamala Harris. I don't believe it.
So this is why, and I'm raising it for a very specific point, to say that at the end of the day, and I'm going to stress this, and again, I can come on here and talk about a number of things in terms of having this platform as being a podcaster. But for the people that this reaches, for the people who are hearing this conversation, that's why it's important to get the information on your own. And I guess really to see how everything lines up, because there's a sect of people who could say, well, I really don't believe that the race is that close. I've talked in circles before as well. In fact, I had a gentleman on last week who said, yeah, we hear this about the polls, but is it really that close? I mean, I'm in circles where I'm hearing so many who are in support of Kamala Harris, so Vice President Kamala Harris. So again, and then you say with this, I've read the stories about a certain amount of black men who say they're throwing their support behind Trump, et cetera, et cetera. The media, it is as the media is. The media is going to report what the media wants to report. Therefore, it's important, wouldn't you say, Barnett, for people at the end of the day to do their homework and make an educated decision?
So the short answer is yes. So a lot of times when I have these conversations,
Yeah.
no matter who I'm talking to, I will get off and I will go fact check to see where some of this information is coming from. Now, you had a gentleman on last week. There may be people there right now who believe that Kamala has a sizable lead. Okay, that's fine. Okay, if they're going to fact check and they want to research and that's what comes up, okay, that's up to you. But I can tell you this, like I just said, the Rasmussen poll shows Trump with a bigger lead.
Yeah.
So you have to use your God-given intelligence. You have to do your research. You have to go and find a wide range of websites to find out exactly where the status of this poll is. And the sad thing about it is sometimes when you have an outlet who says that black men aren't supporting Kamala Harris, then nobody. This is in the media. This is
Yeah.
some of the media. They don't do their homework.
Yeah.
They take that as a fact and go out and start repeating it.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't found that. But I've done my own independent research, which does not show that. So when I hear that, I'm just trying to figure out where it came from. But when you have all of these calls on Monday nights, Sunday nights, Monday nights, where you have thousands and thousands and thousands of black men on
Hmm.
these calls who support Harris, okay, I just don't see that narrative where all of a sudden the black vote is abandoning Kamala Harris. But I think what people are talking about is that the numbers aren't where they were um, when Biden was elected. So that may be some of what it is, but I just don't see Donald Trump getting a majority or a lot more black votes this year than Joe Biden got previously. I don't see Kamala Harris getting that fewer votes than Joe Biden got in 2020.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, so let me, I have to mention this. I don't even remember if I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. So we do know that former President Trump, is reaching and is trying to identify with black voters as much as he can. So I know that as your work with the NABJ, he took a little bit of a hit, and your group really made the news by him appearing there and even seeming to antagonize the lady who interviewed him. Is that, or was that an overstep on his behalf? Was he overreaching? I mean, I tend to think I already know what you're going to say as a journalist, but kind of, and I'm a journalist too. Listen, once a journalist, always a journalist. But it's like, is that an overreach in your opinion, or do you feel that the heat that your organization took as a result of that, do you think it was warranted?
So overreach how? What do you mean by overreach? Was what
When I
overreach?
say an overreach, meaning it was an obvious campaign ploy. I think, but I guess everything is at this point, meaning Donald Trump trying to establish some sort of connection with black journalists, given his history of disrespect and his history of just quite frankly disdain, particularly for some African American reporters or even outlets which are empathize with minority communities.
Well, he was invited. Okay, so I don't know if it was an overreach. I mean, he didn't just show up. They asked him to come, and he accepted. Okay,
Yeah,
so if they didn't want him, then they shouldn't have invited him. But they did, and he went there. And Donald Trump is Donald Trump, regardless of who the audience is. Um, he said some things that people found offensive, but you don't invite Donald Trump anywhere and not expect him to make statements that will raise eyebrows. That's just not who he is. I mean, he
yeah.
does that, I believe, intentionally, and that's what he did. He had the audience, and he said what he did about Kamala Harris not being black. Um, I think it's a good idea for him to go before the audience, just like it's the same good idea for Kamala Harris to go on Fox News.
The resume, when we look at the resume and we put the resumes together, is there an obvious winner to you, or does it not matter?
Well, the resumes are very vast, very broad. I mean, the question is, who do you think would more represent the interests of minorities. When I say minorities, talking about women, talking about blacks,
Hmm.
talk about the shutouts, talk about the shut-ins. I think if you look at the track records, then Kamala Harris will her track record has probably leaned more towards helping African Americans. Now, to go back to what you were saying is that there's some people in the African American community who have been hesitant. That doesn't mean they're not voting for her, but they're questioning. They have questions about her record as a prosecutor and a DA in California, Attorney General in California. Okay,
Yeah.
and again, this is about homework, right? I mean, you can't just say, and I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about generically.
Yeah,
People
sure.
just
Sure, sure.
can't say, okay, because she's black, she's going to be better for black people. Okay, I mean, what makes you say that? But this is what you call doing your homework. Go out there and find out what is her true record in the African American community. You may find it very, very, very favorable. You may have some questions. Okay, the whole thing with Israel and the Palestinian issue in Gaza. Okay, people have raised questions about that. Okay, so it's a holistic way of looking at this to come up and make a decision on what direction you want to go in.
I got you, and and you know what? I don't how can I say it? I don't have to do journalist speak because I'm not a journalist anymore. So I will say this, and you handled that question beautifully. Um, I don't know, and I will say this, and I'm stepping a little bit out, and I'll step back in. But if I had to look at resume, if I had to look at duty, and if I had to look at history, I don't see how there could be any question on who's better qualified. And I think you know where I'm going with that. And looking and from an intelligent, average person's perspective, which is Kisa. I mean, because what I'm finding now is we're in a country, we're in a time that average, normal, well thought out. That's not the norm in some cases. But if I'm going to look at your presidency, and if I'm going to look at 4 years of Donald Trump and what he has shown me, because people, the best thing that we have as an indication of what the future holds is what the past held for us. So if I'm going to look at that, okay, and then compare it to someone who is even in, I guess you could say, her past as a prosecutor and even her current role as vice president, I will just say I'm just imploring people to take a real serious look at the candidates. We've seen a lot of inflammatory things. We've seen a lot of sensitive things, buttons being pushed, and slogans being preached. But at the end of the day, we're talking about a leader of the free world, the United States. So I'll let you close out. And because I'm trying to be very neutral in this, Barnett, I'll let you close out and just encourage people to get out there and vote. Why is it important to vote and do our research?
Right. So I heard everything you just said, and I understand it. But if you take a person like Byron Donalds, who is an
Yeah,
African American congressman from Florida,
yeah, yeah.
okay, he would say the same thing you just said about Donald Trump. A
Did you
black
catch what I
male,
said? Did you catch what I said, Barnett, without saying it?
right? But this is what I'm saying about how people look at situations. I understand what you're saying.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
oh yeah.
I hear what you're saying. Okay? But then again, okay, I have family members who say the same thing that you say. Okay, which is fine. But again, you have to remember that they're African Americans. Okay, Byron Donalds. I'm giving you a name. People can research it for themselves. Okay,
Oh, absolutely.
and
I get it.
he's saying the same thing. But I think what it comes down to is that each of us has to vote our conscience.
Yeah,
I can't worry about Byron Donalds his argument for Donald Trump. Okay, as much as I love you, I hear what you're saying. I can't be swayed by your argument in favor of Kamala Harris. I mean, it's obvious what you read between the lines what you're saying, okay? which is fine. Okay, I
sure.
get that. Okay, but I think that when you talk about getting out to vote, absolutely, but go out and do your homework, do your research, and then make a educated decision. But I'm not going to disagree with anything that you said. I understand that. And for those who do disagree with you, okay, then they have to go out and they fact check and find out exactly, where you're coming from so that they can make an educated vote. And I hope what you're hearing is that, you know, I'm an independent. Okay, I'm an independent. I voted for Republicans in the past. Okay, and I voted for Democrats in the past because sometimes for some Democrats, I don't think that that for me represented some of the things that I represented on their particular platform. There are many more Democrats who I believe have represented some of the things that I stand for, principally Barack Obama. Okay, so going back and forth, I hear what people who are in favor of Kamala Harris has done, um, and I really believe that it's going to come down to who makes the better closing argument between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And the one thing I would keep an eye out for is for the October surprise. Okay, that the politicians, when you go into presidential elections, they always kind of wait a week or two before the election to drop a bombshell.
Oh, that's a good tip. That's a good news veteran tip. October surprise.
October surprise.
So
Look it
you
up. Look it up.
look it up. Look it up.
You can Google it.
And we do know we only have just a few days left in October. So in other words, be checking your headlines and keep a watch, everybody. Barnett, always a pleasure. Editor of the Birmingham Times. I know this is a busy day for you as your new edition comes out tomorrow. So go ahead.
Thanks for having me. Magic City Classic Week. So we
Oh,
have a lot of great stuff about the classic. We have a special section. So this is some good stuff.
I'm just glad we got a chance to talk to you because it's a busy week for you.
I always make time for you, Keisha. You know that.
Thank you so much, my friend. Have a great day.
Okay, you
And
too.
thank
Thank
you.
you. All right. Good
You're
talking to you.
welcome. Okay, good talking to you. Bye bye. And that is Mr. Barnett Wright with the Birmingham Times. So look for their new edition coming out on Thursday. He's busy getting some finishing touches on that Magic City edition. So the moral of the story is make sure you get out and vote. Make sure that you are educated. We didn't mean to be long today. Don't even mean to be what is the word? What is the word? Don't even mean to be uh, controversial. That's the word. myinfo.alabamavotes.gov. myinfo.alabamavotes.gov. Make sure you register, at least know where you're registered so you can get out and vote first Tuesday in November for the presidential election and other local elections too. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you next time. Okay? Thank you for tuning in for this special edition of Evolve. Bye.